election. Can't we have election in Nigeria that will be violent free?
You see, the issue of violence, ballot snatching, disorderliness, an act of indiscipline have gradually become a tradition in our electoral system. It did not start today nor yesterday. It started right from the inception. And the reason,
where was the inception?
in the early 60s. We've always had it. You had Operation Waited. You had people being killed, maimed, and so on. And the problem is, when it happens, what are the punitive deterrent, not just punitive, but deterrent measures taken to scare others? If somebody does something and is to be severely punished.
Some people have been lined up for prosecution. I can't remember the figure now.
Okay, lined up for prosecution. What about the consequence? The people are not fools. Nigerians are docile. The masses are gullible. While even the intellectual elite are sometimes apathetic. They know the right thing to do, but they would not do it. Otherwise, you expect a serious challenge. Why should there be ballot snatching, maiming, destruction, violence, and then at the end of the day, people are arrested? We don't know what happened. But okay, life imprisonment. This one was given 10 years, 15 years. Recall and tell me if there has been anything like that. And so people feel what matters is achieving your goal. Once you do it, once you get there, forget whatever and however you go there. Nothing will happen.
Saki, you remember the strong man who came to the parliament to showcase his wives?
Yeah, the majority leader. Who is in trouble now?
He has been re-elected.
Yes.
And I think he's on bail now.
He's on bail.
Is that not what Brown was talking about?
Exactly, that's what he said. Because actions don't attract consequences. And as long as that continues, we won't achieve anything. Because you see, violence during election unfortunately, has become part of our tradition. Right from the First Republic. The Second Republic also witnessed similar violence. The Third Republic, I don't believe there was a Third Republic anyway. It's another argument completely, because it was a diarchy. You can't convert diarchy into a republic, but you stay as a Third Republic. This Fourth Republic we are operating.
Aborted Third Republic.
Aborted. No, it did not even emerge as a republic. Because we had a military man up there, and it was a diarchy. So this so-called Fourth Republic, you see, someone like me had thought that by now we should have gotten over this election violence. With all this technology being introduced into our election and our electoral process, but unfortunately, it means some people are profiting from it. These perpetrators of violence, they don't emerge from the blues. They have sponsors. They are paid agents, and they do the work they are assigned to do, the work they are paid for. But because actions don't attract consequences, we hear of arrest. We have heard of some arrest now. In the last elections, up to the last one, we were hearing of people being arrested.
We were told that a special desk in the office of the Superior of Police was handling those cases.
But why should people decide to snatch ballot box? Why should you decide to kill someone because of an election? It shouldn't be part of an electoral process. I think, and the security agents also look at this last one, this runoff elections conducted with all the spate of violence. You shouldn't have seen that, because they were selected areas. So which means their security agents were not overstretched. They should have been able to provide enough security for these selected places where these run-up elections were held. But we do not see that. So it means there should be some inside collaborators assisting this bad behavior.
Yeah.
We are being told now by Saki and Brown that violence has become part of election or part of election process in Nigeria. You share that position?
Oh, certainly I do. It's now part of our political culture.
Look at the film. I mean, the picture on the screen, and those papers, all those were printed with Nigerian money.
Yes. It has become part of our political culture, unfortunately, but that's the reality. Now, why is it so? It is so because there's a lot in politics. I've never been there, but I do know that it attracts a lot of... Look, if you are... Let's take the position of a governor, for example. They are powerful individuals. Whether they are in power or out of power. Today we have two military people, ex-military heads of state that have become presidents. If Aswadu is sworn in, that will be the top governor that become the president after Yaradua, Jonathan. Now, when there is patronage coming from government, people in government are the first beneficiaries. It is them that will select people who get the benefit. If the president, for example, wants ministers, you call on the governors to bring them, ambassadors, high commissioners, and board appointment and things like that. So what people in government get is a lot, and if you are there, you hardly want it to go. So you do everything to ensure the status quo is maintained. Until this election, if you have done with your 2 terms of 8 years, then you are already in the Senate. The election is just a formality. Whether people like it or they don't like it, you are going there to perpetuate whatever benefits you have. So if we have to do it, then again there has to be attitudinal change on the part of Nigerians too. Now, in spite of all the president at the point said, and I'm quoting him, that anybody that takes ballot this thing should be killed. And he said should be shot at. Now, in spite of that, do you know that this did not deter some people?
Well, someone was shot at in a state and killed.
What is the percentage?
Just one.
Just one. Out of the lot that happens. The whole essence of sanctions for laws is meant to deter people. But in this case, it's not deterring people. So honestly, I don't know that people are ready to risk their life for somebody else. All because they want somebody to get into power.
Well, that is their own job now. Talk with.
Then that's why the violence is
important. But who are people patronizing them? That is the question.
They are the big shots in government.
But some politicians will, I'm sure they will sit down and do some calculations before the election.
Oh yes.
They know there are areas of strength and at the same time weakness. So when they realize that the other candidate is popular in an area, then they send their thugs there to disrupt the process there so that those votes will not be counted. So it was a deliberate attempt to frustrate the other opponent and of course the system.
Yeah. You see, the Yoruba will say, you are looking at the top, but not the foundation. Before there can be any building collapse, the foundation must have been faulty. The problem is the election or electoral system in Nigeria has become a bazaar. But somebody mentioned it this morning.
Pot of pepper soup.
That is it. Once you are able to win at the bazaar, you have made it. And so there is urgent need for all the pressure groups in Nigeria and the masses to work together in order to save the nation from imminent collapse. Where we are now is a condescension down the abyss of a banana republic. It appears anybody can do anything and get away with it. There is lack of unity between the rulership and the followership. And as I always say, the kind of leadership you give epitomizes the kind of followership you receive. And so there is no concerted efforts. Our pressure groups are there. ASU will do its own, NUT will do its own, NLC will do its own, and NANS. Why can't they pool resources?
Have they not all been brought into the
system,
eating of the pepper soup?
Good, and that is why
you see NANS president or national officer riding a jeep, a student.
And that is why I came to the conclusion that in Nigeria today, thinkers, CSC, thinkers think, talkers talk, and doers do. But until CS begin to think, and thinkers begin to talk, and talkers begin to do, the quest for sustainable development will remain a mirage. You have ASU, you have NANS, you have NUT, you have all of them. Why can't they pool resources if they are actually for the masses?
They are also part of the masses. Not that Sake. Now that this trend has become part of our political life, is this how it will continue?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I think concerted effort should be made to. It can't be eradicated completely. There's no doubt. Even in advanced countries, violence is found in during the election period, but not at the level we are experiencing it in this country. I think it has become a kind of profession for some people to wait for election period for them to be recruited to perpetrate violence. And with the technology that has been introduced, because if you snatch the ballot box, I think there have been records somewhere by way of the BVAD and whatnot. So it means the snatching of ballot box itself will be, I mean, they don't have any serious adverse effect on the final result. So if these talks are educated to know that, look, what you are doing may not even change the narrative, I think they will stop. But some people still believe that they must sponsor talks to disrupt election. There's that mentality, and there's people that go into election to rig. I said here once that a commentator once said that an average politician goes to an election with the purpose of rigging. It is when you are out-rigged that you now shout that there is rigging. But he himself might have gone into that exercise with the mindset of trying to rig. The point is that we don't need all this violence. And I think our technology is growing. We used to have a card reader, isn't it? Now you have BVAD, we have IREF. All these are technologies that will consolidate our election process. And I think at the end of the day, it will reduce this issue of thuggery during election.
This human, how do I put it? Human factor is affecting the system. And some people have also said that 2015 presidential election, Jonathan to Buhari was the best.
Oh yeah.
In terms of violence.
Good. Because to some reasonable extent, there was voter education. If you look back, this is the worst period. We never had any voter education, no civic orientation. It's like people were just doing their own thing, their own way. And yet, we have the national orientation agency.
We still need orientation on how to vote. Is the awareness not already there?
Human beings, being what we are, we need to be reminded. We need to, be told what to do, even though we know it. Otherwise, that ministry would not be necessary. And that is why we call it participatory, development. Government cannot do it alone.
Do you need someone to tell you that you don't need to be violent?
Well, I don't think we can do it, but just for formality's sake. It's not that people are not aware. But more importantly, I want to say something. I'm happy you mentioned 2015. Now, before then, the best election in Nigeria, the election that have been characterized as the best was 1993.
June 12.
June 12. Now, certain things common between these two elections. And what is it? We had majorly two political parties. In 1993, June 12, it was between SDP and NRC. In 2015, it was basically between PDP and APC. Which means that the lesser we have, the better it is for the country. This year is key because the third force that came in also pulled a lot of crowd.
There is another fourth force.
One person is limited. One person is limited. Whatever. Yes, I'm not disputing.
I think he has a government.
Yes, and that is limited to Kano. Yes.
Anyway.
So you see
but 1 million votes no be joke.
If it was spread over, that would have made an impact, more impact than what it is. Now, so if we educate people by now, given the level of education and orientation, I think
it will be better. Okay, because of our time, let's move to the third topic now. 207 billion naira spent on 68 million Nigerians. That's a huge amount. Sake. And in spite of that, we are having all these not too good stories to tell. Ballot snatching, violence, wreck, being suspended for frustrating the system, for acting against the ethics of the office they held, in spite of all this investment. Is the reward worth it?
Well, before I answer that, I am yet to understand whether that's 207 billion naira you are talking about is part of the 302 billion naira budgeted and given to INEC. I think it's part of it.
It is.
Yes. INEC had 302 billion naira,
yes,
and is considered as the highest, is the biggest budget
in the history
of our country. And it is out of this 302 billion and that 117 billion naira was set aside for possible hacking of their devices.
So we also have some amount set aside for litigation.
3 billion for litigation, So I think all these put together will now bring us nearer that 302 billion naira. 305 billion naira. Well, you see, we have been told that democracy is very expensive. There's no doubt about it. But it is becoming too expensive in our country. People will say because of our population. I don't believe so. It is because of our extravagance. No. And people believe that I just must take money before I vote. So INEC also has factored all this into his budget as a way of also fighting against such mentality. But to have spent that amount, 207 billion naira on 68 million and who did not vote,
amounting to about 3,000 naira per voter. 3,207 naira per voter. That is the interpretation.
Well, we were told 92 million people registered as voters in the 2003 election. 87 million collected their PVCs, while just 25 million voted in the presidential.
Yes.
And you are told during the governorship 21 or how many million? Let's have that.
So 68 million people were left, did not take part.
Like the fact is that it doesn't mean that money got to these 68 million people. INEC budgeted for it, but it did not materialize.
It's like throwing up a party and you invited guests. You cook all this meal in the world, and very few people should not.
Can one then ask?
Is it not a loss?
Can one then ask where is the money?
No, the rice has been cooked. The amala is there. People did not just show up to eat.
You see, our democracy has become too expensive.
Okay. No, I want to take this along.
Okay.
If this is coming from INEC, budgeted by the federal government to prosecute the election, the political parties too also had their own budget.
Yes.
So if we had everything together, this democracy is not so expensive.
It's expensive. I remember we went for one workshop in 2018 at Kakamfo in Ibadan.
Yes.
Now I just sit down and I look at the number of people, the resource persons, the people that attended, the cost and everything. My brother, democracy is very expensive.
Does it worth it?
Well, but you see, even if it is not worth it, it is better than, because it gives a semblance of we the people.
Of representation.
Of representation. It's not like saying
even if when figures are written, now because of our time, I still come back to you.
Well, you see, from
Aristotle once said democracy is not the best form of government. Now you can have majority of the fools. I'm not instigating or calling for any other, but I mean this is just an academic discussion. That you can have majority of the fool. Democracy may not be the best form of government.
yes, just as it has been globally acknowledged that if you leave politics because it is a dirty game, you allow the fools to rule you. Because you think you are wise, it's dirty, I don't want to be there. But at the end, you are going to be ruled by them. From the analysis given by the two earlier speakers, my brother, what is happening is loss of confidence in the electoral system.
That's why so many people opted out.
That is it. It's not necessarily because they did not get cash or they were not giving money or financial inducement. They have lost confidence. Why? Because they believe your votes may not count. So why do I need to bother myself? Let's just juxtapose this with the prevailing cashless policy and the dire or consequences on the banking system. I told somebody, I said, what we're experiencing now is loss of confidence in the banking system, and it will gradually kill banking and investment in Nigeria if urgent measures are not taken by government to rectify the situation. Mark my words, people have money now, they don't take it to the banks. They rather give those who are selling. Those who are selling will give POS. You go to POS, you buy, they get the money. The banks,
the interest will wonder what to get in.
that is it. So the banks no longer get money. So do we now continue to print? So that is the danger. Loss of confidence in the electoral system.
Loss of confidence. There are at times you cannot completely exonerate INEC. Though one might say human factors may be responsible. There are instances where some people will get to the polling, or let me say when INEC officials will not get to the polling unit. Even 6 hours after, we were supposed to, by 8:30, the process ought to have commenced, but at times 11, 12, no, you won't find them. Some serious final will say, what is all this? They just go back home and continue watching TV and refuse to take part. This might be some of the reasons why we have this low turnout. And again, we also know that many people are passing to the other side of the world. And the INEC, I don't think it has this facility to detect the dead and remove them from this. So that we just don't continue printing ballot papers for those that are out there.
Well, it's not the responsibility of INEC to mobilize voters. it is the job of political parties, the politicians. But it is the business of INEC to create a confidence-building environment. An environment that will make that will give the average voter that, look, my vote will count. I mean, the last exercise has brought us back. The last exercise, I mean, this 2023 exercise has brought us back as far as confidence in INEC is concerned. During the build-up to the election, I continue to say it here. Jacob Mamu was telling us that, look, confidently, that we won't have cause to cast your vote and will not count.
Is it not the likes of this Malam Kundu Yunusa Ali that is giving Mahmoud?
That's one of them.
Yakub problem.
Yes, that's
those occupying sensitive positions.
Yeah. So we need a more serious INEC. Well, the man will complete his second term. Is in second term now, 5 years. I think he will complete another 2. He will not conduct the 2027 election. I think whoever will come on board the 2027 will have learned from the mistakes of this INEC, because the INEC needs to build confidence of people into the system. But that is dwindling. We had it a bit higher during Jega. And I think in the last election, the 2019 also did some measure. But this 2023 has brought us back.
INEC will need internal cleansing too.
Oh yes, of course.
So some of its officials have also been alleged to have compromised the system.
Yes, but you see, it's also a reflection of the society, because we have seen situations where the academics, professors. I remember one in Cross River or thereabout that was compromised. You know, there is this drama woman that they read.
Yes, 17 jail term now.
So I mean,
it was also commend the vice chancellor of University in Anambra.
That woman
who said she was called to.
That woman. So what we are saying is that if somebody gets to that level, I mean, one will expect that he will not go beyond certain, but in Nigeria everything goes.
But is everybody buying?
No, not everybody, but majority are buying. So we have turned ourselves into communities.
Yes. So we just look at you and size you up and say, let me try sake with 100 million. And we sake compromise.
And you see some politicians believe that there's nothing money cannot buy. You know, they will give you an assignment. I don't want to mention it here. They will give us one and say, look, don't come and tell me. Bring any impossible. Just tell me how much it will cost. And so that is an average politician for you. They believe everything has to do with money. And because of the level of poverty, democracy and poverty, they don't go together. They don't go together. Where poverty is entrenched, democracy is in trouble. Because people readily give in to all this monetary inducement.
I wish we continue, but the time is not just on our side. So on that note, we have come to the end of today's edition of this program in the newsroom. Let me appreciate Muitala Agbola for your contribution and time.
Thank you for having me.
Brown Adeyemi.
Well, it's a pleasure being with you.
Yes, it's good to be in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much, Biodun.
The program will be back tomorrow. We'll be here by the grace of God between 3:30 and 4:30 for another interesting topics. My name is Abiodun Lalede. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.